Hello again, and welcome to our podcast series on NATO and defense procurement. Today we're going to talk about the NATO Information Assurance Product Catalog, or the NIAPC. The NIAPC was established by a NATO directive in 2010 and actually came online later that year. It is overseen by NATO's procurement agency for computer information systems, known as NCIA agency, or the NATO Computer Information Agency. If you haven't yet seen my podcast on NCIA, be sure to check it out. There's a link below. The NCIAPC, oddly enough, is one of the few acronyms of NATO that actually describes what it does accurately. So it stands for the NATO Information Assurance Product Catalog, and it is just that. It is a listing of NATO-compliant information assurance commercial off-the-shelf products. This is not to be confused with NCIA's Basic Ordering Agreement, which is essentially a listing of registered preferred suppliers to NATO. In fact, in order to be on NCIAPC's online listing, you don't even need to be registered on the BOA, although it's helpful. Now, the NCIAPC would cover products such as public key infrastructure, firewalls, encryption, forensics, Tempest technology, and I think by now you can see pretty much where I'm going with this. And it is, on the contrary to the Basic Ordering Agreement and other platforms, this platform is different because it's publicly available. You can browse it right now. In fact, I would encourage you to do so. So it's publicly available, and it is, you enter it on a voluntary basis. So you list yourself voluntarily. This is browsed by NATO international personnel, both civilian and military, but it's also consulted by the various ministries of defense of the 29 member states, and almost more importantly, it is consulted by industry. So pretty much imagine a systems integrator which is browsing the catalog might be interested in your commercial off-the-shelf product that's NATO compliant to fold it into one of their solutions that they're offering to NATO. There are currently 200 companies that are listed on the website, and as I said earlier on, you might want to just browse it and check out what's on there just to get a good idea of if there's a match for what you do. How does one register themselves? Where do I start? My recommendation is quite frankly, just give them a phone call. So their telephone number is dial international 32 for Belgium 65449902, and somebody very kind and friendly will pick up the phone, will speak in English, and will answer all your questions. Alternatively, they also have an email address which is info@ia.nato.int. Now, the registration process is pretty much straightforward, and there's no fee attached to it, and you basically have to fill out two forms that are available online, and I linked them here below. And one form, one application, describes a little bit what your company does, and the second one describes what your product does. And once you submit those to the NIAPC management, they will issue you a serial number which will mark all of your correspondence between the management and your company. The next thing the NIAPC management will do is they will vet both applications. They will check for completeness, but they will also check whether or not you've covered all your points. For example, are you able to sell to NATO? Are you a member of one of the 29 countries that are apt to sell to NATO? Because it is a walled garden. They will also check for things like the relevance to NATO. They will check for your terms and conditions. They will also check for market demand before they consider you for listing. The next step is a third-party vendor will actually verify whether your product is NATO compliant. Think of Tempest products, for example. At the end of which, the NIAPC management will then tell you, sorry, you're declined and we need additional information to consider. Or they might say declined and that's that. Or finally they might say, hey, you're good to go. We endorse you, and from there you get listed. And there you have it. It's pretty straightforward. Once again, this is an online listing open to everybody, and it doesn't require you to be registered on the basic ordering agreement. Again, I have a video on the basic ordering agreement as well. If you haven't seen that, please check it out. Finally, I've attached here under a PowerPoint presentation, which is very detailed, where you can get a lot more information about the NIAPC and the process. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again next time when we talk about the NATO Standardization Agreement, known as NATO STANAG.